Okay, on the Civil War file folder review, you guys will have for each of there's sets of questions, and you can scroll down, and you guys have a copy of this that Miss Ella has given to you already. But you'll see, like, for questions 1 through 7, you'll look on page 1 of this handout here. I don't even know. So if you scroll down, like, this is page 1. There's the page number on the side there. This is page 2 and page 3, and you guys will notice there's notes in addition to what this is from your folder you have, but we broke it down to just these pages, and put additional notes on there so you didn't have to flip through the whole folder to make it easy for you. So if you look, like, questions 1 through 7 is page 1, and page 1 is called Road to Civil War, and you'll find it under Compromise of 1820. So you'll go to page 1, Compromise of 1820, and this little area here will be able to answer those questions 1 through 7. If you go up here, it says for questions 8 through 13, page 1, Road to Civil War, Compromise of 1850. So go down to page 1 and Compromise of 1850, and you'll use this to answer your questions. And you'll notice that yours might look a little different than mine does on here because we added additional notes just for the sake of not having to go through the whole folder to search for answers. Okay. When you get down into the next part, like starting with questions 26 through 30, I believe, yes, you'll go to page 2. And now these, so if you look for, like, questions 26 through 30, it's going to be on page 2, and, like, page 2 and 3 is called Civil War Sequence of Events, and this comes from your file folder. You're going to go to these sections for the answers. Elections of Abraham Lincoln, South Carolina secedes, and Jefferson Davis elected presidency of the Confederates. So it tells you right where to go to. So let's go down here. We'll go to page 2. And here it is. Elections of Abraham Lincoln, South Carolina secedes, and Jefferson Davis elected president of the Confederacy. These 3 boxes you will use to answer questions 26 through whatever it was, 26 through 30. So you're not going to be searching throughout the whole entire page. Just go to the sections that we direct you to. So, like, questions 31 through 36, page 2, Civil War Sequence of Events, and it says attack on Fort Sumter, South Carolina, and then Battle of Bull Run. So you should go down to page 2. There it is, attack on Fort Sumter and Battle of Bull Run. Don't look on anything else but these 2 boxes sections for the answers. Okay, so now that you hopefully understand where to find your answers, I'm going to start to read the actual worksheet review for you. All right, so here we go. Civil War file folder review. Compromise of 1820 through the assassination of Lincoln through 1865. When blank asked to join the United States in 1820, it caused a debate around the country. Many settlers to Missouri had brought their slaves with them and then applied to the U.S. as a slave state. Up until this point, the country had an blank number of slaves and free states. To allow Missouri into the U.S. would upset that balance of power in the U.S. Blank, a compromise was struck under the leadership of blank, lists the 3 components of the Missouri Compromise of 1820. So like I said, I would pause there. You're going to go back. And those questions 1 through 7, you should be looking on page 1, Road to Civil War, section Compromise of 1820. Boom, right there. Okay? So I would pause and answer those questions. All right, our next section that we are going to be looking for is we're going to be answering questions 8 through 13. So back to our worksheet. For the next 30 years, a balance between the number of blank and slave states will be maintained as the United States expanded westward. This balance will once again be challenged in 1850 when blank applied for statehood after the discovery of gold. List the 4 components of the Compromise of 1850. And you're going to list those 4 components right there. And so again, you should be looking for questions 8 through 13 under page 1, Road to Civil War, Compromise of 1850. And there are your answers. for 8 through 13, right in this area here. So pause and go ahead and answer. All right, next, questions 9 through 18. Back to our document. It says, okay. Okay, so there's a correction. These are not questions 9 through 18. You can see in the red here. After going through this, I realized I had the wrong question numbers. So this actually is going to be questions 14 through 18, leading off of the one above, questions 8 through 13. So you'll go questions 14 through 18. We're going to answer using this right here on page 2. So here we go. The fugitive slave laws will not be fully enforced in the North and will increase the sectional tensions between the North and South. This tension will spill over into the violence after the passage of Kansas-Nebraska Act in blank. This act, proposed by blank, gave the newly created territories of Kansas and Nebraska the right of blank, which meant that the people who lived in Kansas and Nebraska would decide if their territory would be free or blank. This act resulted in armed conflicts between slaveholders and free soilers. These conflicts are referred to as blank. And so, again, here's our correction right here. You're going to go down to, still though, page 1, Road to Civil War. In our section is Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854. So you'll find those answers right here. So I would pause and go ahead and look those over. All right, the next section is picking up with questions 19 through 21, Road to Civil War, and this is going to talk about the Dred Scott versus Sanford case. So let's go ahead and scroll down. And it says here, tensions between the North and the South will escalate further when Chief Justice Roger B. Taney announced the Supreme Court decision in the blank case of 1857. Dred Scott was ruled not free because slaves were blank and not citizens. Therefore, they were not automatically free on blank land. So you'll go over to your packet and you'll go down to page 1, Road to Civil War, Dred versus Scott box. And those answers will be found right here. And you guys will notice that a lot of the words that you're going to need are underlined on purpose to help you. Okay. All right, next section is going to be questions 22 through 25. We're going to be on the same page, Road to Civil War with John Brown's Raid. So let's go ahead and read that real quick. Tensions increased further in 1860 when the fanatical abolitionist Blank attacked the United States Federal Arsenal at Blank, Virginia. His goal was to capture enough weapons to start a blank in the South by arming the slaves. The raid was not successful, and John Brown was blank. So you will go over here. And again, questions 22 through 25. Scroll down to page 1, and you'll use the information right here in this box, John Brown's Raid. All right, moving on. Questions 26 through 30. This is going to talk about the election of Abraham Lincoln, South Carolina secedes, and Jefferson Davis elected presidency of the Confederacy. So let's go over to the document and scroll on down to where it starts, question 26. And it reads, with the election of Abraham Lincoln as the 16th president and the first blank president, blank will be the first state to secede from the Union because they did not believe Lincoln would protect blank. The United Confederate States elected blank as their president. In his inaugural address, Davis made it clear that the South considered secession a necessity and not a blank. All right. So this is a little bit larger of a session. Well, it's just those 4 questions. So go ahead and answer those. You're going to go back to the document. And even though it covers 3 sections, it is just 4 questions. So it starts with the election of Abraham Lincoln. So these little itty bitty boxes down here. So you're going to use election of Abraham Lincoln, secession of South Carolina, and right here to answer those questions. And then you can also use these 3 boxes right here. And you can see these ones are actually probably better to use because we actually have the words highlighted, or rather underlined for you. All right, so next, what are we on here? Okay, moving on, we are questions 31 through 36. This is talking about the attack on Fort Sumter in South Carolina and the Battle of Bull Run. Okay, so here we go. The South tested Lincoln's resolve to hold on to blank when they attacked blank. This is where the first shots of the blank were fired. The first actual battle of the Civil War was fought blank, Virginia, and was called the Battle of Blank. It was a resounding victory for the blank. And again, you'll go over here, questions 31 through 36. It says page 2, Civil War sequence of events, and we're using attack on Fort Sumter in South Carolina and the Battle of Bull Run. So here we are. Attack on Fort Sumter right here. And the Battle of Bull Run right there. Okay, next we are moving on to questions 37 through 45, and we'll be talking about Battle of Antietam, Emancipation Proclamation, and the Battle of Vicksburg. So question 37. The first year of fighting saw the South winning most battles. When Confederate General Blank invaded the North in September of 1862, he was stopped at the Battle of Antietam. This battle was the single bloodiest blank of the entire Civil War, but it gave Lincoln the victory he needed to take a stand against blank. He will do that issuing the blank. Lincoln specifically freed the slaves in the states in blank against the United States. Why did Lincoln not free the slaves in the border states? So we're again going to go over here, and we're talking about questions 37 through 45. So let me go ahead and read the rest of this to you. Union General Ulysses S. Grant will be given the task of gaining control of the Mississippi River. By controlling the Mississippi River, the Union would be able to blank. Grant will accomplish his objective when blank, the last Confederate stronghold on the Mississippi River, surrendered on blank, 1863. This day was a catastrophic day for the Confederacy. All right. Okay, so now we can go over here. In questions 37 through 45, you'll go to page 2 of the Civil War sequence of events. And you'll use Battle of Antietam, Emancipation Proclamation, the Battle of Vicksburg. So you'll scroll on down. And there it is, Battle of Antietam, Emancipation Proclamation, and Battle of Vicksburg. Pay close attention to the handwritten items too, because those probably are important answers. Okay. Moving on, we're on questions 46 through 57, and it'll be talking about Battle of Gettysburg, Gettysburg Address, and Sherman's March to the Sea. Here we go, question 46, and it picks up here at the bottom of the page. On the same day that Vicksburg fell, the Battle of Blank, Pennsylvania, ended when Confederate General Blank was stopped in his attempt to invade the North again, resulting in the bloodiest battle of the war. This battle, combined with the Confederate loss of Vicksburg, will mark the turning point of the blank. The battlefield of Gettysburg was dedicated as a federal cemetery for the soldiers who died in that battle. Blank delivered a speech in which he urged the North to finish the cause for which the brave soldiers died, so that none would have died in blank. All right, so did I go far enough? Nope, we need to go down to number 57, so let me keep reading. After these 2 Union victories at the battles of blank and blank, both ending on July 4th, 1863, Ulysses S. Grant will put in charge of all blank troops. Under Grant's direction, General William Blank will march his army across Georgia from blank to blank. Describe the type of destruction Sherman's army will leave in their path across Georgia. Okay, so go back to this document, questions 46 through 57. You're going to go to page 3 of your packet, Battle of Gettysburg, Gettysburg Address, and Sherman's March to the Sea. So scroll down. And we are on a new page. So you're going to use Battle of Gettysburg. And then you're going to use over here, Gettysburg Address. and Sherman's March to the Sea. Notice we skipped over Battle of Fort Wagner for a reason, so do not be looking in there for answers for this right now because you're not going to find any answers in those boxes. Only use the 3 boxes that are on that sheet. Battle of Gettysburg, Gettysburg Address, and Sherman's March to the Sea. All right, so almost done here. So we're going now, we have questions 58 through 65, and those questions are going to cover sections on page 3, Lincoln's second inaugural address, Appomattox Courthouse, and Lincoln's assassination. Here we go. Okay, so we're right here. When he was reelected as president for a second term in 1860, Lincoln made it clear that he did not intend to punish the South for the Civil War with the following words. The Civil War will finally end a month later when blank surrendered to the Union general at blank, Virginia, on blank. With that surrender, the Civil War was over. Lincoln did not have the opportunity to celebrate and reunite, though, with his country. Only blank days after the surrender of Appomattox in Virginia, blank shot President Lincoln at blank in Washington, D.C. So you're going to go now over here, and you're going to answer questions 58 through 65. So page 3, you'll use the Lincoln's second inaugural address, Appomattox Courthouse, and Lincoln's assassination. So scroll down or turn to the page. And there it is, Lincoln's second inaugural address section, Appomattox Courthouse, and the assassination section. And notice again, there's underlined items and additional words written in that will help you answer your questions. All right, the last section, questions 66 through 72. This kind of jumps around, and we're going to use those sections that we did not use before. So it's going to, again, talk about the election of Abraham Lincoln. We're going to go back to Jefferson Davis, elected president of Confederacy. We'll go back to Battle of Vicksburg, Battle of Antietam. And then we're going to go to those sections you didn't use, Battle of Fort Wagner and Battle of Fort Fisher. And then you'll pick something up off of page 1 also on the road to Civil War. So let's scroll on down and read the final little bit here. It says, identify the following significant individual events by full name. So question 66, President of the United States from 1860 to 1861. Question 67, President of the Confederate States of America. Question 68, lead commander of the Union Army by 1864. Question 69, lead commander of the Confederate Army. Question 70, and these are using those 2 sections that we didn't use previous, that we skipped over. So number 70, first African-American recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor. Question 71, the first Hispanic-American recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor. In question 72, last but not least, which Supreme Court case declared the Missouri Compromise line unconstitutional? And so, again, you guys will be skipping around because you're going to pull little sections from each of these areas, okay? And it's stuff that you've covered before, except for those 2 areas where they talk about the Battle of Fort Wagner, which is right, where's that at? Battle of Fort Wagner right here. And then the Battle of Fort Fisher. So you'll pick up those 2 important names in those 2 sections. And then once you get that done, you're all complete.